It's the mom life.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Living in the Moment with B.
And Steph, and today we are talking boundaries in motherhood.
Yes, learning to say no when you become a mother, especially if you are a people pleaser, a good girl like Steph and I were growing up. So that has been a learning little hurdle for me. How has that been for you?
Totally. Okay, so this isn't a real thing, but I think it's becoming more and more like a way to describe what we probably have. So, have you ever heard of oldest daughter syndrome?
No, but I am definitely the oldest daughter.
Okay, me too. And so basically, what it is you grow up and your family may or may not put this on you, but with more domestic responsibility than, any of the other kids. And so as a result of that, you end up as an adult being this type A anxious person that has to get everything done and be on top of everything, and everything has to be perfect, and you can't say no, and you become like this people pleasing person. And so I had looked into that, and again, I think that it just also maybe is part of being a girl a lot of the time, and like growing up and maybe wanting to be like your mom, because I feel like my family never put that pressure on me, but I still grew up with that oldest daughter syndrome. Like I still have that. I can totally relate to a lot of the little points that come up when you look it up.
I had not heard of that, but I definitely have that. And I think there's also like, have you ever heard that saying, if you go into a household and you want to know who the man of the household is, it's always the oldest daughter because she will make all
No.
the decisions. Yeah. And I think it's even like, for me, anyways, when I was growing up, I was trying to find that fine line between getting everything done, doing everything. Like, my mom did put a lot of pressure on me and would give me lists and things we needed to do. I feel in comparison to my brother and her, as I got older, there was kind of a lot of resentment there. And when I asked her about it, because I'm like, Mom, I'm so anxious. I don't know how to say no to people. Like, I am just such a people pleaser. It's horrible. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but she's like, Well, I just want it to make you strong. I wanted you to be able to do anything on your own and everything on your own because women need to be stronger in this world to survive. We don't get male privilege. And that is a big privilege in all cultures. It doesn't matter what you are. The male is always more
Yeah.
valued and the woman is undervalued, even though the woman does a lot of the work. Um, but then you become a mom. And
Mm-hmm.
that no is so much easier because nothing else matters but your child, at least for me.
That's true. But going back real quick to what your mom said about wanting to raise like a strong woman. So I totally get that. You do have to be able to have your own voice in this world as a woman. It's so important. But why then, like, being given more responsibility as a child, does it result in you being more of a people pleaser? And like, before you have kids, like that's an interesting correlation when that's not the intent behind, trying to, make these stronger women, stronger
Right. And
girls.
that's what I mean, I do have a stronger personality compared to my brother, and he's a year and a half older than I am. And so, like, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of decisions, I would help in making those decisions growing up. Like, I was very much empowered in that way. But then it was still a no as far as like what was expected of me. I couldn't say
That's,
no, is what I mean.
yeah, that's true. It's very, I guess like it kind of evens out, because I like to think I'm the same way. Like I like to think I won't take a ton of shit, but at the same time, like
We take a ton
if
of shit.
anyone asks anything of me at any, I will be there. Like and granted, after having a baby, I've, changed that a lot, but I'm definitely a people pleaser, say yes to everything all the time person.
Yeah, and
Or was. I don't think I am anymore.
and I think
As bad.
I think even, well, yeah, I think since becoming a mom, like even
Yeah,
learning to tell
exactly.
each other no, like friends, coworkers, employers,
Mhm.
your boss, your husband.
Mhm.
That one came quick. No. But yeah, I don't know, and I think it's hard. Like I said, it empowers you, but it also belittles you. It could be just due to culture, but women have a lot more responsibilities at home. And when you're a kid, you're just at home. It's not like you can go out or you have a car, you have things to do. And so
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot more responsibilities than my brother. So if you look at our upbringing, have you ever heard another saying? You never, kids are never raised in the same way, even if they have the same parent and they live in the same house and they're,
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
because
Mm-hmm.
you're treated differently, right? And like my brother and I had such a different upbringing where he was able to leave the house, he was able to hang out with friends. If he wanted to join sports, that was fine. But for me, it was my responsibility to come home, to take care of my sister, make sure the house is clean, you know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
my brother never had any of that on him. And so I grew up a lot sooner than my brother did. And in a lot of ways, there's benefits to that. But then the downfall, like I said, it's taken me a lot to find myself and to like stand in my own power, because I grew up with lists and checklists that I have to do for other people to make sure that they're happy and they're pleased and the house is clean and this and that. And so, but when I had JJ, that changed because I didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't care. That came naturally, people. You just, for me, anyways, I just didn't care anymore. I didn't care about people pleasing anyone if I don't have time. And I'm a baker. I love to bake. I love to celebrate people. I say that all the time. But if you ask me and I'm busy, I've learned to say no. You know,
Yeah.
if we often try to get together as friends, we have a mom group. If one of us can't make it, it's easy to say no. And it's easier
Yeah.
also when you also find your real friends and the family members that really stand by you because they're understanding. You know, you find your
Mm-hmm.
troop, you find your village, your people. And so don't be afraid to say no, because no doesn't mean I don't care. No doesn't mean I don't love you. It just means I'm setting boundaries. And right now, it's a no. I cannot. And I don't think that just goes with adults or your jobs. Like I said, that even goes with your kids. Like now that
Mm-hmm.
JJ's becoming more vocal or he's wanting something, you have to learn to say no. Like you have to set those
Yeah.
boundaries. Even this morning, I was getting him ready before we film, and dad made breakfast. He made him berries, scrambled eggs. Um, he didn't make berries, but you know, he put berries on the plate. He made scrambled
Yeah.
eggs, and JJ said, "No, I want pizza." No, JJ. And so he started throwing a fit, grabbed the plate, threw it on the floor, and my baby doesn't throw tantrums, but he is learning boundaries and he's learning what he's capable of. His brain is expanding at a rapid pace right now. And so we're in the tantrum realm of him
Right.
learning what is acceptable or not. And so even
Mm-hmm.
learning to tell him without feeling bad, because I actually know a lot of parents that don't like to tell their kids no, and their kids run all over them.
Yeah.
And that's freaking scary when they
Yeah,
get
you
older.
yeah, you have to. Even Maddie, she's younger than JJ, and I don't even know if she's capable of like throwing a tantrum right now because her. I don't think she quite like
Understands.
can. Yeah, can get that, but she definitely gets mad. Like she understands no, and when you tell her no, she gets mad, and she has this thing that she does every time, like to kind of self-regulate, like, oh, someone told me no, and now I'm gonna, go in. She has this little comfort pose she does. Um, and it can kind of be like, oh, okay, but no, you have to. I always think to myself like it's for her own good. It's not me being mean, and so I haven't had a problem with that so far.
Yeah, even with JJ, I'm like, if he's not hurt, right? We're not hurting him. He's in a safe space. He's fed.
Right.
He has all his basic necessities. And all I'm saying is
Exactly.
no. And he wants to throw a fit. I allow him to. Grandma's a little
Mm-hmm.
different, which I feel that's fine. That's where the balance is. But I'm
That's what they're for.
yeah, I'm like, mom, he needs to learn to self-regulate and he needs to
Yeah.
learn to say no, because in this world you're going to hear that a lot.
Right.
And
And be able to like take it.
yeah,
Yeah.
you have to learn how to handle a no, and you have to learn how
Mm-hmm.
to give a no. Not
Right.
as a child but as an adult. And I think that's very important, because for anyone that struggles, or you're a new time mom, a first time mom, and you think you're overwhelmed, no is going to be your best friend. Like
Mm-hmm.
even like household chores, sometimes the laundry stacks up now. It never used to. I used to be like such a clean freak, and I feel like Stephanie is even more. I mean, you've always been. um
I still am,
Yeah.
yeah.
And my stuff has kind of taken a back seat. Like it's more about spending time with my son. I still, get things done. But it no longer gives me an anxiety. So,
No, that's true. What did change, and like I think I said it a couple episodes ago, I barely took down some of the decorations that we had up still. We still have random things like hanging in places that I just don't think to take it down from Christmas. And it's like that, that doesn't bug me. Like whatever, it'll get taken down when it gets taken down. The clutter and like that type of stuff doesn't necessarily bother me anymore. Um, Obviously like the cleanliness, like, and I think that's the same for everybody, like that, I want to stay on top of. But no, some things have definitely taken a back seat too. And I think like what helps you say no as a mom is you just kind of have like this natural instinct that kicks in, like this, it's where the mama bear term comes from. Like, you're going to do things for the good of your child. And so if that's not being able to go to dinner when everyone else wants to go to dinner because that they're just going to be tired and it's like, not a fun experience for them, then it's a no. And if that's not, like you said, going out with friends because, you just can't, like that's a no. Like, and so, and that's okay. And like you said, that's, I think a good thing about having friends and a tribe, that are kind of in the same phase of life is they understand like it's a no and it's not a question. Like, okay, cool. See, like, next time's fine, whatever the case is.
and there's even moms that have older kids because I did struggle with this a little. I feel like our little mom tribe, they're more understanding because we are in the same phase. Like we're understanding, like you said, the beginning of tantrums or trying to teach our kids. But there's moms because we had our kids late, and a lot of our friends and family had them early, and so those kids are freaking teenagers and in high school or middle school. But for them, they've forgotten all the stages and they're like, oh, come on, just come drink. Or, oh, you're being a helicopter mom. Or, all this negativity. Those are the people to practice no on. Like, if you're not good at no, practice with those fish first. And the ones that
Mm-hmm.
want, throw them back in the pond, girl. Like, get rid of them. It don't make time for the people that support you, especially
Totally.
in the child rearing years, where you
Mm-hmm.
really need support. Make sure you have that. Don't create your
Yeah.
own chaos. So learn to say no to those people that are stressing you or bringing you more anxiety or are just not understanding. Like, you know what? It's Saturday. I just want to spend time with my kid today because it was a long week.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're so boring now. Well, oh well, this is who I am now. Like people need to love you through every phase. And so if you need to,
Yeah.
make some cuts, girl, this is it. This is the season. You start making cuts, the good ones too.
And it's easy to make the like to have those opinions like, oh, you're a helicopter mom, this and that, when you're not in that stage anymore. Or like, oh, you're babying them, or, whatever the case is. Like when you're far removed from that and you can't quite put yourself back in that era and in that exact time, it's easy to make those assumptions, I think. And
Yeah, and it's hard because for us, we love to support moms and women. Like we'll get into Blake Lively, but that was my first stand. Like support women. It's just a natural. Even this podcast is about supporting moms. But I hate to say, a lot of moms that are just in different phases are quick to jump on their pedestals and judge you, and that's
yeah.
just the reality of it. Like and no, no, even for anything, just no. Learn to say no, guys. Practice it in the mirror. Practice it when you wake up. Practice it. People say, not today, Satan. You say that to people too. Not today. No.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but
I
I
agree.
do want to jump quickly, guys. Like we said, we're trying this new style. We definitely want to always talk about mom stuff, but we have mom tea because we need it and we love it. And so, did you see that video? Like that video surfacing? We just want to touch back on Blake and Justin. This is not always
We're
going to
going
be,
back to Blake and Justin. Yeah, it's not going to be our topic every week, but this just keeps giving us
but
more
we're
and
in
more
the
to
thick
talk
of it. We're
about.
in the thick of it. So,
Okay, yes. So that video that
of
came
them
out this
dancing
week of them dancing, and that is
on set, on
supposedly,
set.
yes, in the movie, but he happened to be mic'd up, which maybe he did it for his own protection. I don't know,
Well, it looked
but
like
because
they
he
were
didn't need
recording
to
though.
be.
He literally said
No,
cut.
yeah, they
So
were,
they
but
should
I
be
don't think
mic'd
he
up.
needed to be in that scene. Yeah, I think that was part of it.
Oh.
And so, because she didn't know that that was going to come out, so I think that
She
she
wasn't mic'd
maybe,
up.
yeah, maybe thought that they weren't, or whatever the case is. But no, so they were dancing and it was pretty flirty between the two of them. And that was supposedly where some harassment took place, according to her,
Well,
on set. And so when you watch that video, that doesn't seem to be what's happening.
no, there was definitely a lot of natural chemistry between both of them. Like if I was a spouse, my answer, no. No, 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 no. What is going on here? What is happening? I did see some people like, well, why was he mic'd up? You know, like why was he already planning this? Like trying to have, you know, all these secret recordings without her knowing. But let's remember he is a producer. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure being mic'd up is something he always had to, because he had to switch roles, do different things. And so I don't think that was a big deal. I One thing I noticed, because one of her complaints was that he said she was heavy, she had gained weight since having the kid, and I mean
Right.
that is a big subconscious for women because your body changes
Mm-hmm.
so much. It's not just your stomach; it's everywhere. It changes. But she was making fun of his nose. I'm like, oh
Right.
my god! And he
Mm-hmm.
didn't seem to take offense. Like he was playful about it, and they were playful about it. But I just found that interesting. Like it was opposite of what she was saying. And you know me, I was like,
Right.
I stand with women. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
Blake, what is going on?
No, it's true. And we're not there. Like we've said, like we don't know the context of the entire situation, but from the stuff that is being released, and granted, I'm sure that all of this is very calculated, um, but it's just not looking good for her. So there was that scene that came out, and part of me is thinking that maybe he was trying to protect himself by miking up most of the
Because
time
things were
because
already happening.
right, but like okay, so did you see that I think it was in a text message, or maybe he came out and said that she completely rewrote a scene and was like, hey, come, out to my house. We'll go over it. I want to show you this scene that I rewrote. He's like, okay, cool. He gets there. Ryan Reynolds is there. Taylor Swift is there as like her,
Her entourage,
um,
her
exactly like
bodyguards,
her muscle.
yeah,
Yeah, like her
her
muscle kind of like,
dragons.
oh my gosh, that text message is embarrassing, girlfriend. Like, who talks like that? But anyway,
that's how you
so
that's how you show off your power.
right, like okay, Khaleesi,
Yeah.
calm down. Anyway, so he gets there, and Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift are there, like as an intimidation factor, it seems like. And I think he even said that in
Star
the messages
power.
back and forth after the fact. Yeah, he was like, hey, I liked your scene. I would have liked it even if you didn't have your friends there. And then she came back like using this dragon reference. Like, I think you'll see that when they're on our team, everyone wins. I mean, that's like a very basic way of saying the crazy thing that she said, but
Yeah, and I also wonder though if they were there because they're saying Ryan Reynolds was involving himself in everything just because he was super jealous. And so
oh
maybe
yeah,
he,
that there was real chemistry
right,
between Justin and Blake, and Ryan was like, no, and stepped
and
in.
stepped in. And so when I saw that, when Justin Baldoni went over, I'm like, maybe Ryan Reynolds was there to like, hey, this is my woman. You know, like
Yeah.
you're not stepping in. Um, but they have both very beautiful families. Like I don't even know where all this jealousy came from. If there is, again, these are just or
Yeah.
whatever
But part of me
rumors.
is like, okay, when you're acting, shouldn't you strive to have like a real chemistry? Because that's what's going to show on screen and that's what's going to make people invested. And as long as you can separate that from your real life,
But I think that's what
then
people are saying is that they don't feel, based on her history, that she can do that because she's dated a lot of her co-stars.
okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
And so, um, yeah, I found that crazy. And then even just look at everything Justin Baldoni went through, like being in the basement. That's horrible to have spent,
They stuck him in the basement for the premiere.
to have bought that book, to have invested years into getting that script, revising it and getting it all worked out, to have to celebrate your biggest night in the basement. And so
Can you imagine the regret that they're both feeling? And I don't know, maybe they don't regret things, but like, my gosh, I should have never done this movie. Like, it's completely blown up my life
that
at this point.
this is where the power of no comes in because
Mm-hmm.
even like Justin Baldoni, like he just kept giving in to a lot of the things that she was requesting or wanting, even though he wanted to say no, but because they had already spent so much on having her on there,
and she has the star power and the husband and so part of the conspiracy when all of this first came out was, oh, how come the talent agency dropped Justin Baldoni right away? Like, Blake Lively must be telling the truth about this harassment claim. Well, maybe not, because that agency also reps Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift, and so who has the bigger star power? Like, who are they going to keep? So if Ryan went in and threw his weight around and was like, he's got to go, you know, the agency is going to be like, okay.
I also think though that's just like celebrity political power, right? Because for us, that movie was going to be a hit either way. Like the readers, I mean, it was already a hit. Everyone that I knew was reading that freaking book before it was even announced that it was a movie. Like, I feel like Justin should have just had more faith in that and in himself and not taken so much abuse, because I feel
but
like
again,
he took a
she
lot.
kind of had the star power, right? And she, I mean, even down to like the wardrobe, like when you read the book, I don't think Lily Bloom had Louboutins, you know, and all of these fancy clothes and purses, and was trying to open a flower shop and dress all, you know, weirdly.
She didn't portray the character like I
just
thought.
Weird. Exactly. Yeah, it was,
No.
and that was her doing. Like, she wanted it to focus on the fashion. But and I typically don't notice that stuff. Like, I'm very oblivious when it comes to like little nitpicky things like that. But even I was like, this wardrobe doesn't make sense for this movie.
Well,
like, she looks like she should be in The Devil Wears Prada, or she's still living a Gossip Girl character or something.
Oh no, those Devil Wears Prada, they dress nice. I'm like,
well, they would have dragged her.
Yeah.
But like the labels and like the wannabe, you know, fashion and whatever the case is, like it didn't.
I just think she's so out of touch with reality, and I say this nicely, but if like, to me, Lily Bloom was someone that was very she was humble,
right?
And like Blake's image of humble is you don't even brush your hair. What the heck? Like, that's not like.
And you wear 3 pairs of pants.
Yeah,
like, okay.
like what? Ma'am, that is not humble. That is extra. That is not humble. I don't understand how you're.
That's the word. She was super extra in a movie that did not
need it.
That shouldn't have been the role. Yeah, that was not the role. That was not the character in the book at all.
That didn't call for it. Yeah, that was bad. And the Ryan Reynolds and the Deadpool, the Nice Pool. Have you seen that? Where there's a character in Deadpool called Nice Pool, and he has a man bun.
Yeah.
And so they're making fun of him, and I'm like, dang, is Ryan Reynolds really this mean? Like, is he really?
Yeah, I saw that they're saying that that's a little dig at Justin too.
The whole character. And then he happens to die by Lady Pool, who's played by Blake Lively, in front of a flower shop. And like, what a coincidence.
That's not a coincidence.
Yeah, you know, like there's so many pieces.
I didn't even see that.
Ryan Reynolds or Deadpool, he's like, you can't talk about a woman. She just had, you know, a baby, and the other one's like, well, I'm a feminist. It's fine, and you know, like it's like blatantly.
Oh my gosh, I have to go watch.
Yes.
I kind of remember that part from the movie, but no, I didn't even connect it to this whole thing.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And it's just, yeah, you need to watch that. But I it's so sad because they went from last year being like one of the best Hollywood couples. I mean, they've been for decades, right? For years, to now falling from grace. And you're just like, dang, these people are mean. They're bullies.
But Ryan's letting Blake take all the steam. Like, I haven't seen anything about him, really.
No,
it's her getting dragged through the mud.
No, if you see it
and
now,
he's not talking about it.
No, he's not talking about it. But if you see it now, everyone's turning on Ryan. Like, they're saying it's no longer, it was really not Blake's complaint, it was Ryan's. And people are now saying they feel that she only went with it because her husband is telling her to. And because if you look at the actual, like, whatever Baldoni's releasing, if you look at it, she seems real compliant. Like, she seems happy. They have a good relationship. And then all of a sudden she makes him out to be this crazy man. But they're saying that that's coming from Ryan. Pressuring her and just kind of using Blake. So I don't know. I just think Justin should have said no for a lot of things. And you're right, there is star power, but Justin has his own star power. I feel like that movie would have been fine without Blake and all this extra. And he did say, like, once we had Blake in, it was hard because she had at one point said, if you can't meet my demands, then find another actress. And he said,
but they had already blew their budget.
Right. He's like, at that point, she had already changed all of the clothing. Like, she had changed this and this and that. And we had spent so much money. It just didn't make sense financially to go backwards.
But does the star power equate to the entire cast being against him? That's still a question in the back of my mind, is why was every single cast member against him all the way up until her complaint came out? Like, but why were they okay with him being in the basement? Why didn't anyone, publicly take his side?
I don't know, but why doesn't anybody from Gossip Girl talk to Blake Lively anymore?
No, true. Yep.
Like, you go back to a lot of her interviews or her castmates, and they're just not friends with her. Even with Taylor Swift, like, they say Selena Gomez and Blake Lively are never seen together with Taylor Swift because Selena is just such a different person from Blake Lively, and they don't get along, right? Those are the Hollywood rumors. And so even within her own friendship groups, there's tension and drama and stuff. And so, again, I'm not against Blake, but I feel like Justin should have learned the word no. And it's harder when you have millions of dollars invested, right? That's really hard to say no to, but I feel like he worked so hard for this movie just for it to be taken away from him. And that's sad. I do feel, though, that no one's going to want to work with Blake again. Like, she burned the bridge of trying to be a producer or directing. Like, she just sounds like a nightmare now.
I think so, too. She really, and, at the same time, she's Blake Lively. Like, I don't know, people are probably still going to want her, but it does seem like she burned a lot of bridges and made people, exactly like you said, not want to work with her.
Yeah. And with him, I think people still want to work with him. I haven't seen a lot of bad
totally.
things.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime anyone's referenced something bad, they're like, no, he married. What was he famous on? What was that show?
Jane the Virgin.
Yes, and he married. Like, he was the one who married her and her husband. He was, what are you called?
Officiant?
Yes, he was the officiant. And so they're like,
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he officiated their wedding, and it was like this very emotional, right, wedding, and you can see her crying.
Oh, so they're like besties.
Yes, they're like, and that's what I'm saying. And then you look over to the other side, and you're like, even Penn Badgley, I think that's his name, from Gossip Girl, like, he follows Justin, but not Blake. And so people are just comparing, like.
No, it makes you wonder, for sure.
Makes you wonder on your patterns and how you treat people. And so, but yeah, even with Blake, if she really had nothing against Justin, she should have just told her husband no. No, let's not make this a big deal. And even Colleen, I think they said she turned off her Instagram because it's just so much drama. Like, she's getting flooded overwhelmingly. And it's terrible because we're talking about their drama. Even we're talking about it. And it's supposed to be about domestic violence, something that is so overlooked. So many people, women, men, children, they suffer over domestic violence. I have family members that have gone through that, and it's terrible. It's awful. But instead of putting the light on that and on these survivors and how to survive and how to get out of it, it's ego. It's ego and it's pride and it's he said, she said, and it's people turning on each other. And I was saying, I was hoping that this became Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial on TV, but we don't even need it. It's happening now. Justin's just like releasing stuff every day.
It's playing out right in front of us. It's going to be really interesting to see how it resolves at the end of this and what happens to Blake's career from this point.
And I think Taylor Swift even came out and said she wants out of this narrative. Like, she never bullied Justin or said anything. But I do feel that once this passes, Blake will be forgiven because Taylor does have major star power, and that's still her bestie, and she's going to stand by her.
But even the Swifties are against her, so I don't know if even she can save her at this point.
I think you can have a mean girl moment and people will get over, even though she's had many. But if, like, next year or later this year, she's like, guys, I've grown up, I'm going to change. We're going to be like, okay.
Yeah.
Because we also accept that, because none of us are perfect, because we all change, we're all ever evolving. And so
true.
There's hope for you
And in
yet,
Hollywood,
girl.
something else will come along and distract us, and then people will get over it. So,
Yeah.
well, anyway, thanks guys for tuning in. If you have any thoughts, like Dee said, we love to just gossip about this stuff. So please comment down below. As always, you can find us back on TikTok.
Woo!
TikTok is still going strong. So.
Wait, did you see though that like all these places, because the app is not actually good on like Apple Store or whatever, and so like to download anymore because it's
still, you can't re-download it if you got it off
if you
phone,
removed it, and because it's still not officially okay, it's just temporarily okay. They just put a band-aid on the situation, guys. We still don't know if it's going to go off later this year or whatnot.
Yeah.
But people are selling their freaking phones with the icon, like with the TikTok icon, for like $10,000. One lady sold it for 20. I said, "Excuse me, where do I sign up? I will sell."
I did see that.
Take my phone.
Yeah. That's a lot of money. That's sketchy though, because then you're not like, putting your phone back to factory settings and just giving it kind of as is, deleting what you can to some
random. I wouldn't do it. People are crazy. I literally have 21,000 photos of JJ. Yeah. So no, you can't have it, but it's tempting.
That's a lot of money though. But anyway, guys, so yeah, TikTok, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, follow us on Instagram. We're still going here, guys. We're coming up on a year in May.
Yeah, we still have a few months.
We're trying to grow just a little bit. So
send us some mama love.
Yes. But thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Living in the moment, it's the mom life.